Welcome back everyone to our newsletter Sustainability in Motion. Today I have Felix, our Chief Operations Officer and Chief Strategist, who is also leading our partnerships. We're today going to focus on how partnerships can be implemented, how they're actually embedded into the organization. Welcome, Felix.
Thank you, Mark.
So just one of the first questions that I want to ask is, why are partnerships so important at Nexio Projects, and why are they embedded into our DNA?
Absolutely. So as an advisory firm, somewhere where we have the biggest impact, it's also in our sustainability report, one of the big pillars of impact is that SDG 17, so this partnership for the goals. As an advisory firm, of course, there it's thinking about where are our boundaries as a firm, where can we complement our services, and how can we scale our impact. So there's three ways really to look at partnerships for us. The first one is through our clients. The second one is through our suppliers and who we're working with for our own operations. And then thirdly is those external service providers that can really sort of have a ripple effect to the services that we provide. I think today for discussion may be good to focus on this third pillar. And maybe to lean in a little bit into that, I think very early on, and you as co-founder know this better than anyone else, the big focus when we started was twofold. It was first to really become that one-stop shop for sustainability solutions. And then the second thing was not to reinvent the wheel. This is in our practical DNA, not to reinvent something that's already there. So with those elements, it became quite natural that we looked who was in our ecosystem, and started really having these discussions about scaling impact and having a ripple effect.
And like you said, we really looked into becoming that one-stop shop where we try to be authentic and where we try to look at the different partners that really would be part of that ecosystem. What would you say are a couple of success stories from our partners that you've embedded into the organization? What would these be, just to have for the audience a bit of a practical idea on how you tackled this?
Yeah. To answer that, I think I would focus on the fact that digitalization and sustainability go hand in hand. I talked a little bit about scaling impact as advisors. How do we do that? And that's oftentimes through scaling it through external solutions or software solutions in general. So that's something that we've seen. For us, again, coming back to that practical DNA, it's about getting in, identifying the hotspots of a company, identifying the material topics where really those companies are having an impact. And there it's thinking about, okay, we've done this exercise in the first steps. How do we go on scaling this as the company grows on that maturity curve? So two examples that I could use where partnerships have been quite successful for us, and it's been absolutely core in the way we've grown over the last 5 years, are on the first hand EcoVadis, which is the world's largest ESG rater worldwide. You started these discussions now about 5 years ago, and identifying, okay, we need to benchmark, we need to assess companies, because that's an absolutely key element in building a sustainability strategy. And there again, not reinventing it. So focusing on a partnership with a methodology and an organization that we can scale those exercises with. So we've been a strategic partner of EcoVadis over the last 5 years. We've helped assess more than 200 companies worldwide using the EcoVadis methodology, using the EcoVadis assessment, and using that as a benchmarking tool to scale that, not only within companies' own operations, but also looking at using that as a tool to measure the impact of suppliers, for example, and using it as a supplier engagement tool, a capacity building tool. So it's been an amazing platform to scale our work on and link our advisory work to. The second partnership that has been a great partnership over the last few years has been with EcoChain, an LCA software provider here based in the Netherlands, but operating globally as well. And they really broke down the LCA exercise into very simple steps that are very scalable. And that's what their software enables us to do as advisors, using their software to really scale the lifecycle assessment work. So really looking at the environmental impact of products specifically, and doing that with their platform. And that we've rolled out successfully with a large FMCG player who wanted to measure the product footprint of their suppliers' products. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without the strong collaboration that we have with both parties to really scale that.
Thank you, and great to see how you evolved that partnership from EcoVadis being that world leader in ESG ratings and EcoChain also in LCA, super complex topic at the moment. Even though that you, of course, always look at now the success that we just mentioned, there are, of course, always partners where you want success, but it's not always achievable. What are some lessons maybe for the public that you can share from also partners where that willingness to become successful as a partner and as a collaboration is there, but it wasn't successful? How are these examples there?
I think there's a lot of lessons learned. You know this yourself. I'm just trying to summarize it maybe in 3 points. I think the first thing is starting with the client needs. We've had a lot of conversations, and I think it's great in our sector because we are all a lot values driven to have conversations about idealistically, what would you want to have in partnerships? Where do you want to go to? But here it's really important to sort of start these discussions, these partnership discussions with what are the clients actually needing? Where are our boundaries of our advisory services? And how can partners actually complement that in a super practical way? And those have been the most successful partnerships is the partnerships where we've started with that, identified that straight away, and have operated very practically with our partners. The second thing I would say is staying agile. It's already difficult enough to coordinate. Company now we're reaching the 50. There to make sure that there's no silos, that everybody's communicating in the right ways and collaborating in the right ways. You're adding a layer of complexity when you're adding a partner. So how do you keep sort of that communication easy, flowing, and that you keep your agility and your ways of working? So that's a lot in the workflows, a lot in the processes, making sure that that's fully aligned with your partners. And then I think third, and I mentioned it a little bit, but it's really that values alignment. Are you clear on what your objective is, on what your goal is, where you want to go towards? And are you actually the best partners possible to serve your clients in that way? I think those are the 3 takeaways really from many of our discussions.
Thank you, Felix, once again for all these questions from learning, successes, and how you and your team build it up. So thank you for this, and wishing you, of course, luck with the next wave of partners that we got on board. And to you all, thank you so much for joining again Sustainability in Motion and this topic with our CEO with regards to partnerships. We look forward to invite you again in the next topics that we have lined up, and thank you very much for listening.